That was close there for Man City. Welcome back to the Laurence McKenna channel. I don't really know how to feel right now because Liverpool are in the Champions League final, and I've just sat with a couple of friends of mine who are massive Man City fans, and well, those guys are now out of the Champions League. Real Madrid get themselves through, and Liverpool get a possible revenge tour against this foe of theirs that took them out in the previous final of the Champions League. But what happened to get Real Madrid there? Well, they took one English club out, then they took another. But no one expected it to be Man City. Everyone saw Man City taking that advantage and thinking, okay, this team shut out Atletico Madrid. They did a decent job until about 85, 86 minutes when Real Madrid basically just went, oh, right, okay, yeah, we need to come back into this tie. And then I don't want to call it a collapse because I don't feel it was. I feel like it was a forced win from Real Madrid. Real Madrid's will was more than Man City's will. And I'll be honest, I think Man City kind of thought, we've got this one in the bag here. But they didn't. The substitutions were the right substitutions if the game goes well. But the game started to get away from them once they made those substitutions. And suddenly they're in a position where the players they took off would be the ideal players to bring on. Is that mismanagement from Pep? Is that a situation where Pep Guardiola has again messed up something in the Champions League, not at the start of the game, but towards the end when things start to get a little bit more complex? When things are in control, did he start to take them out of his own control and his own team's control? Fernandinho was on, Gundogan was on. Suddenly they started to get overrun in the midfield. Things started to go when it was wide for them, when Jack Grealish came on. Jack looked good. He should have had a couple of those chances put away. This is the thing, is it's so confusing to watch all of this after the game and wonder to yourself, what could have been? What should have been? Surely Man City were meant to reach the final tonight. Surely they should have put themselves in a position where they cut the head off the serpent and they'd done it. The fact is they didn't. And there does leave some questions, to be honest, over this Man City side. Do they have the ability, when the chips are down, when the cards are laid out on the table, to hold their nerve? At the moment, the answer is no. They lost to Chelsea in the final last season when they should have won. And again tonight, they thought they'd put in a performance, or were deserving with that performance, of doing something special and getting to a second consecutive Champions League final. They're not there, though. There were some decent performances in there. I think Bernardo Silva warrants being in a Champions League final. I also think there are a couple of other players who warrant being in there. I actually think Phil Foden had a good night tonight. But the central defenders got taken apart in the last 5 minutes after 90 minutes-ish of, pretty solid two-manned defence where you have one guy block them and someone else come in from behind. You kept Vinicius out. You kept Benzema out. Congratulations. Too little, too late. And then a header which just sails beyond Ederson as if he's not even there. The penalty, I don't think was a penalty. And I can make a good case as to why I don't think they looked at it for longer. They looked at it in motion when you could clearly see, I think, at one point that he touched it and then he touched Benzema. I don't think they were 100% sure. But I think they could have been 100% sure if they watched the footage, maybe even just paused it at one point and seen that's where he touches the ball. At which point, it's not a penalty. A penalty is such a cruel way to go out of a Champions League. But again, it's Benzema who takes them through with that. One thing I will say is this. I do think there's an element of English arrogance about the coverage of Real Madrid and the way that we see them. Obviously, we still look to big stars like Benzema, but tonight there are plenty of other people who deserve credit tonight. I think Courtois had a very solid game. I think he, as much as he did concede at his near post, which should definitely be taken away from any goalkeeper, although, again, is much more common than we probably give a lot of people credit for. I thought he was very good, very solid, marshalled that back line really well and didn't really have too many issues. Although I would say this, I do think there were a few times where he was beaten and he was saved. But again, I think he had a good time in terms of marshalling the defence. A few times where he was beaten, but I would expect any goalkeeper to be beaten in those kind of situations. Secondly, I think Camavinga had an absolutely fantastic game. He is amazing for his age. Being a 19 going on 20-year-old is incredible in any position. at this top level, but to be running a game in the way that he did, I thought was fantastic, and he was all over the place. If anything, I would have started him in the game, but maybe Ancelotti just doesn't feel that way. And then Rodrigo. These are the kind of players at Real Madrid that go overlooked by the English press and the English media. When we cover them, we end up talking about the arrogance of Madrid, which I do think is totally true. But at the same time, there is a big problem with us overlooking what we would consider to be fringe players at Real Madrid, guys who don't get the headlines in the English press in the same way, and therefore just don't get the same credit. We're still too busy looking at other Real Madrid players who are the big stars, the Galacticos, and that's probably down to the marketing. So as much as it's not our fault, it is also Real Madrid's fault. They market just the big boys. But Rodrigo was great tonight in terms of what he needed to achieve and what they achieved. And I think both of his goals were great goals, to be honest. Like, if other strikers had done that in the Champions League, you'd be really impressed. So really great goals. You don't want to overlook those guys in any Champions League final. And then again, the ball's on Benzema to step up and put themselves in that position is fantastic. So don't underestimate what Real Madrid have done here. They've sort of normalised it a little bit, and it is still a really special achievement, especially against the City side. And so now we find ourselves in a position where Man City have to go to Newcastle on the weekend, a team who push Liverpool all the way. The question is, and I'll be interested to know from Man City fans in the chat, or any fans in the chat, do Man City now fold, or do they do that thing where they impress their will upon everyone else in the Premier League between now and the end of the season and make sure that Liverpool don't get that quadruple? Because that would be the only way that they make sure, by the way, is by winning the Premier League. What is in their hands is the Premier League right now. There will be doubt. There will be a lot of soul searching, I imagine, between now and the weekend. But at the same time, they'll know we should have won that. We should have done something here that felt historic and special. But instead, they're the second team this season from England to go out of the Champions League against Real Madrid after what was a very special comeback and a very special performance. But it wasn't just Benzema tonight, it was multiple different players for Real Madrid. So Liverpool have now got to watch this and go, okay, how do we stop that? How do we cut that head off the serpent, like I said? How do we make sure that Real Madrid are so demoralised and so overrun that we are not fooled and sucked in the same way these other two teams have been? No sitting on the ball. No allowing them to get back into this. No point do you stop and go, we are now ahead of Real Madrid. We are the side that are winning this. Paris, a special place for Liverpool. This is where Liverpool can make their name this season. People keep saying this Liverpool side, they need to prove it. This side has proven it to us Liverpool fans. I don't care about proving it to other people at this season, at this point in this season. I don't care. They've proven it to us that this team is extremely special. But what would be really special is to mark that with the Champions League. There's still an FA Cup to go. There's still a Premier League to compete for. But tonight, Man City will be pissed off. And you know what? Real Madrid deserve to go through because of what they did over those two legs of keeping it close, always keeping themselves in the game. And honestly, just negating the best things about Man City at just the right moment. They've got that just about hanging on nature that seems that only Carlo Ancelotti can instill in these sides. It's bizarre, really, because Carlo looks so cool on the sidelines, and yet his team are at 6s and 7s at different points. And Man City needed to capitalise. Chelsea needed to capitalise. Multiple teams have not capitalised on that. These games could have been 5, 6, 7 for the other team, but it wasn't. They didn't put their chances away. So again, if Liverpool are to chop the head off the serpent, they need to put their chances away and demoralise the opposition. This is the revenge tour for Liverpool, if they can do it. I'm not saying they have to, and I'm not saying that they will. What I'm saying is, if you want to win a Champions League, you have to do it against decent sides. And Real Madrid and Man City are both decent, but Real Madrid are the ones who are in the final now, and Liverpool need to do something special against them. They've got the right system, they've got the right players, and they've got the will to do that. They've also got excellent, and I mean excellent, narrative to try to draw from. It's this point where you sort of sit back and think, fair play, Real Madrid. You got yourselves to another Champions League final. You are the champions of Spain. You're doing something special here. At the start of the night, I was talking about a double of the Champions League and the Premier League for Man City. Now, I'm finishing it by saying, can Man City actually push themselves through in the Premier League? Personally, I believe Liverpool will push them all the way. The real question is, in the chat now, do you think that Man City can go all the way? Or will there be a little something in the armour that stops them from getting through? It's going to be weird to watch. I'll kind of be watching on Sunday on the stream and thinking, what can Newcastle do here? Because there will be teams that think, okay, we can get at them now. And frankly, losing against Real Madrid does not give you a blueprint to therefore do something against Man City. Newcastle might be watching it and thinking, right, we'll look for some weaknesses. And I'm sure that Eddie Howe is a smart enough guy to have already had a bit of a game plan for this. If he's not got his game plan by now, he probably won't ever have his game plan. But he may take a couple of notes. Maybe he's given feedback to a couple of these players. Maybe they can undermine that. Or maybe there's another side that will look at that and undermine Man City. We will see. Tonight, though, there'll be a lot of people who I think are saying, City, bottle jobs, whatever it is. You aren't that at this point in the Champions League. If you go out to any side in the Champions League and knockout football, very rarely you bottle jobs, as you put it, to get to this point. You have to be good enough. To get to this point, you have to be all the things you want to be in a Champions League winner. It's just that they actually should be in the Champions League final by now. So are the questions over Pep? Is this an apt send-off, someone like Fernandinho? And was it the right to bring someone like Fernandinho on? Because frankly, there will be questions over the substitutions after those guys did come on. It's going to be interesting to see what the inquest spits out tomorrow. And the start of it will be the substitutions by Pep changing the game. But it will also be the will to win by Real Madrid. I'll be fascinated to see what the inquest in Spain and the inquest in England look like and how they marry up. There is an elegance and a brilliance to Real Madrid, which got them through tonight. And I'm kind of gutted that they're in the final because I wanted to see whether Man City could make it. I wanted to see what that would look like. But I won't get to. Liverpool, what can you do against Real Madrid? This is the revenge tour. It's that simple. Revenge 2022 for Liverpool. What can we do? Come on, club. Much love. See you guys later. Let me know what you thought about the performance and I will put some more thoughts up on my channel. See you later, guys.